Okay, here we go for the Samurai Warriors waifu tier list. Yeah, I don't know why it took me this long. Typically, I try to do like the waifu tier list and the roster duster around the same time, using the same tier list. I did the Samurai Warriors one months ago. I could probably do an updated version with like Samurai Warriors 5, but there's not really that much more to add. But I'm going to use the tier list maker tier list that I made in order to do my Samurai Warriors 5 weapons assigned to all the characters thing, and I'm going to use that for this. There should be a link in the description for this tier list. If you don't see it in the description, let me know and I'll put it in. So here's our roster of waifus to sort out. Some of them should be a slam dunk in theory, but just aren't. They're just not. So we're going to start with my all-time favourite, Kai. Yeah, the woman who worries that she won't be able to be a wife ever would make the best wife. Who knew? The female protagonist from Chronicles games, you know, being a self-insert, there's really nothing there. I mean, it's not really don't care per se, it's more that there is nothing there. You know, it's like when you have a popularity poll for the best Persona 5 characters and you put Joker at the top when he's not a character. You know, people will be like, oh, like Gordon Freeman, Link from Zelda, the protagonist of this RPG. They're the greatest characters. They're not characters. There's avatars for the player. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. I would say the second best would be, well, there's two characters that I gravitate towards who are top tier, but I wouldn't say are quite best girl. I don't like them quite as much as Kai, who is just... It's one of the things with Kai, like, I get what they're going for, where she's supposed to be, like... She's supposed to be, in theory, quite unappealing, and that's why she overcompensates by going super feminine with, like, the makeup and the hair and everything. But, like, she's not that mannish. You know, you look at her Greek costume in Warriors Odyssey 4. It's not like she got, like, really toned abs or anything. She's just fairly slim. And it's like, fucking cowards, Japan. Cowards. There are a few chads over there who appreciate muscular women. Not many, though, from what I've seen. So we're going to go with Nohime and Ginshio. I'm quite fond of those two. Even though I don't normally like tsunderes, and Ginshio is one, I guess I can accept a tsundere if they're not abusive. Like, she gets flustered and frustrated with her husband, but she's not, like, she doesn't hit him. That's easily the most off-putting thing about, like, the modern tsundere character. That she is a violent cunt who just fucking hits the guy for no reason. I can't stand that. But she doesn't do that. But yeah, Koei is, I think, 2 for 2 with their depictions of her. I'm not sure I don't know what the Nobunaga's Ambition version is like, but the Samurai Warriors and Neo versions are both great. Kind of want that statue of her from Neo. Oh, but it's expensive. But it's Ginshio, but it's expensive. But it's Ginshio, but it was Ginshio. I don't know. And Noah's just, Actually, would I say she's top tier? No, She's on the border of between top tier and good. I mean, she's loyal. That's always important. Like, loyalty is an important trait in a waifu. Hard to say. We'll come back to this later. Cha-Cha. Don't like her. She's funny because her thing is that she's meant to be Hideyoshi's concubine and the mother of his child, and then the child never shows up, and the fact that she's his concubine never comes up. She just kind of... It's almost presented in the story as if Hideyoshi adopts her and she becomes his heir, which is just a weird angle to take. I feel like they really dropped the ball when they introduced this character. And maybe they'll just import her over directly like they did with Katsuyori, if they do continue the story from 5. Or maybe they'll just come up with a new take. Who knows? Both versions of Oichi would make good wives, you know, that are very loyal to their husbands. Like, well, you could argue not the version from 2, because she didn't side with her husband, but then I think she was forced to side with Nobunaga there. And the version from Samurai Warriors 1 has the choice, as she pays in 3 and 4, and then as she pays in 5. They are both loyal to their husband, which again is a very important trait in a waifu. So it really just comes to a question of how much do I like the character. I don't have an issue with either version. I think they're both just fine. Like, you can certainly do worse. Like, you could be straddled with, like, Naotora. Like, I wouldn't say she's trash. I don't think I would say any of these characters are trash. You know, this isn't Dynasty Warriors, which has at least one absolutely trash waifu. But Naotora just annoys me. I'm sure I've talked about it in at least one other video. Like, I think I've talked about it in the last tier list maker video I did with Samurai Warriors. It's just a huge waste of potential. You know, she was the head of a samurai clan for a few years, and she's just this flashy fan service girl who's really embarrassed about it and apologizes constantly. You know, it's like when you have that fucking VR mode in DOA X3. and from what I understand, where it makes the girls uncomfortable when you touch them. I'm like, who does this appeal to? Like, what is the fantasy of making a character uncomfortable? Surely if they were more confident of their sexuality, that would be more appealing. If she wasn't just forced to wear this armor because it's like family tradition, like what kind of fucked up family tradition is that? If it weren't that, and it was just that she chose to wear that because it gives her more freedom of movement to utilize her kicks, and she was more like headstrong and confident, she'd be a way better character. Like, it says a lot that the only times she was really tolerable there was this one event, I think it was in like Chronicles 3, where she falls into a lake and comes out with an altered personality, or that one DLC stage from 4 or 4.2 where a bunch of characters are influenced by ninja magic and it inverts their personalities, and she's one of them. You have to use like bullshit magic to influence her personality to make her tolerable, and I can't. She's awful. Bordering on fucking trash, to be honest, because it is the waste of potential. I don't despise her though. I can tolerate her, so she's not trash. Yukimura and Nobuyuki's sister, whose name I never remember. I have no idea what this character's called, because they did nothing with her. They brought her in and she's just there for the cutscenes. She's not even like an NPC in battles or anything. Even though they had 2 unique NPCs, one for the spear, one for the sword, but they left out the other generic moveset, which is the Naginata, which is usually used by women, and there's a woman who could use the Naginata, but no, she doesn't do anything, so why even bother introducing her in the fucking first place? I mean, think about what they could have done with that character. She could have been like a fighter, and when it comes to the conflict between her 2 brothers, she's there trying to stop the fighting. There's an idea. I've always been fond of Kunoichi. Maybe not necessarily in Warriors Orochi like 1 and 2, but I feel like once we got to the Samurai Warriors 3 incarnation, I feel like I liked him more, and I don't know what it was. I don't think they really changed anything, but I just like her more at that point. And so naturally, I'm also really fond of Mitsuki. Now I'm going to put Mitsuki up here. She's the Samurai Warriors 5 best girl. She's great. I really like her. She's one of the best new characters. Which it's kind of funny actually how like my 2 favourite newcomers in Samurai Warriors 5 are her and Yasuke, and they both have gauntlets and are there fighting alongside Nobunaga at Honnoji. Like his Honnoji allies are the new gauntlet characters. It's weird. And then Senahim is up there. I'm not too fond of her as a character overall. I'd probably rank her 3rd of the women in Samurai Warriors 5. But, you know, that loyalty is important. And, she's... In order to stop her husband from having to... Well, I'm not going to spoil it in case you've not played Samurai Warriors 5, because you should. It's a good game. But, you know, she will go to great lengths to for the benefit of her family. And that is a very valuable trait. I appreciate that. And then... this Nohime. And when I did the video, the Samurai Warriors 5 review, I said that I preferred the original Nohime, but I think I actually have shifted a bit to preferring the newer one. I'm going to limit top tier because I think I've said in the past that top tier needs to be like 3 characters at most. I mean, I guess unless there's like a massive roster, but this doesn't have a massive roster to justify more than 3 in top tier, so I'll come back to that later. Gracia is don't care. I never really cared for that character, and a lot of the focus you get is... See, this is the thing, is like, you know, I've joked in the past that Japan has like shit taste, but like the fact that these 2 are 2 of the most popular characters in the franchise, maybe I wasn't wrong, just saying. So this leaves us with 6 more. I don't care for Aya. The thing about Aya is I feel like her presence, like the way Kenshin has a tendency to like defer to her in a lot of instances, especially in the 3 series when she was first introduced. I feel like it takes away from his character the same way that Suma Yi's wife takes away from his. You know, I feel like the head of the clan should be the head of the clan, not just basically taking orders from his sister. I never understood why she was one of the characters that they felt the need to add. It's an odd choice. I like Okuni. She's one of the characters that I like the most, but... the problem is she is literally death. Like, since Samurai Warriors 3, she's been depicted as, yeah, her whole story in 3 Extreme Legends is going to various battlefields to save people who are supposed to die, and then you find out at the end, no, she wasn't saving them. She's just gathering them up to take them to the afterlife. So, what the fuck? And then subsequent appearances have actually continued with that idea. That's not good for a waifu, literally death. Ina, she's fine. I do find it hilarious actually that in Samurai Warriors 3, the game was never clear about the fact that she married Yukimura's brother. Like, Yukimura and her stories both revolve around their dynamic, but it's only mentioned that she married into the Sanada clan, not that she married Yukimura's brother. So it's very easy for someone not familiar with the history to play that game and think they got married, Ina and Yukimura. It's so weird. It's like they're obsessed with having characters who have an attraction to Yukimura for some reason, Nene has to be top tier. Nene's tragic. The real woman couldn't have kids. She was infertile. And so that's why she treats her husband's subordinates like they're her children. Because she can't have kids of her own. And once you realise that, you're like, oh no, Nene, please. Please, no. You deserve to be happy. And that's one of the things that was a great opportunity that they could have gone with her and Cha-Cha, actually, which I want to cover on Wasted Potential at some point. You know, she kind of has to accept that her husband, if he's going to have an heir, he's going to need to have concubines because she can't have kids. But the games never explicitly state that she can't have kids. In fact, it's very rare that the games actually establish what happens to her after Hideyoshi dies. I think, like, Chronicles 3 was the only time they did that. That's only because there is an alternate story path in which she comes back. Getting too sidetracked. Don't care for this character. I don't get the appeal. She just shows up in loads of battles. She's almost like taking Kotaro's role from Samurai Warriors 2. Just showing up on random battlefields to sow chaos. And I don't like her. And then Lady Hayakawa is fine. Nothing wrong with her. I just don't really have a reason to care for the character. I don't think I'd change any of this. All they need to do is reduce the top tier. I can accept 2 best girls just because old Samurai Warriors and Samurai Warriors 5 are basically different series. So this leaves us with these characters. They need to remove 3 of these from top tier. And so it's not about whether I like the characters, it's about how they are as a spouse or partner. So Kunoichi, she's loyal, but she's not a wife. So it's easy to move her down, and that leaves us with these 5. I guess Ginsho would go down just because how often she gets annoyed at Muneshige. I do feel that genuinely, since the introduction of Muneshige, Ginsho has become a worse character. Because her story revolves around him now. When she was introduced in Samurai Warriors 2, she was the Tachibana clan. And then once her husband was introduced, he took that role. And she's just there to support him. I think in 4, I think there's one stage she has where he's not involved. And that's Sekigahara. Every other stage she's a part of, he's there too. And he's usually more important. So unfortunately, I have to remove her from top tier. These 4 are all willing to die for their husbands. Which, you know, wanting to protect your spouse is important in a waifu. You could say we'll get rid of one of the Nohimes, just by default, because you don't need both of them, but maybe Nohime, regardless of continuity, just is a better waifu. You could say that certain versions try to kill Nobunaga, but then you could also argue that if someone's sent to kill you, for the sole purpose of killing you, that's the reason they're there, and then they fall so deeply in love with you that they just completely disregard that, and then help you kill their own father because he's the one who tried to have you killed, well, that's real love right there. Just saying. Nena can be a bit overbearing at times. I'm not as fond of Senna as a character, so I do have good cause to drop any of these down a rank. I'm gonna have to say, because some of this is also just like personal taste in the characters I like, so I'm gonna drop. But then again, if I'm putting that much focus on the characters I like, then I'll have to move Nene down and put one of these 2 up there. I don't know. I think that's good enough. It's